Revive Men's Health at 210-615-7777. That's 210-615-7777. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
When your business needs an electrician, for over 35 years, the family-owned Hill Electric has served San Antonio. Powered by relationships with dedicated estimators who analyze the issue, research cost-effective solutions, and clearly communicate the options without charging you a dime. A proven process that allows you to continue focusing on your unique purpose. Call Hill Electric at 210-404-9074. That's 404-9074. Or hill-electric.com.
He is RJ Ochoa. I'm Rob Thompson, and we talk silver and black. And as we do that every day, the season is winding down, and we will do so without Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell to kick around anymore, as they're both going to miss the rest of the season. Jeremy's got an ankle impingement surgery headed his way, and Devin Vassell has a stress reaction, which I have a stress reaction just about every day, RJ. But I come to work.
Well, is your work as physically demanding as Jeremy?
Just look at Devin. Have you watched this? I'm doing calisthenics.
Do you see what I'm working with here? Yeah.
Just take a look at this.
I'm not in any way denying or doubting or questioning the seriousness or the validity of what's happening here, but the timing here is awfully convenient, right? The Spurs got the last kind of, big win, big moment, last batch of good vibes. And now it's kind of time to head on into show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Head on in and, take a look at the day's catch and, cook it on up and get ready for tomorrow. Although tomorrow doesn't come till the fall around here.
So tonight, the Nuggos, they're 3 wins away from trying. Well, 2 wins to tie, one to surpass. That's not really the best word. You're not surpassing anybody. But you're not going to be the worst with 21 wins,
right?
I think that was questionable when we were fully staffed. Now I'm pretty sure that's all for naught, and we have a built-in kind of excuse. The good news is, as the Spurs sit, they have the 4th best opportunity to get the number 1 pick, although the other guys are kind of locked in there. So it's not all bad to continue to lose. What's the Wendy podcast called? The collective, the cooperative,
the Hoop Collective.
It sounds socialist to me. I don't like that stuff. I don't know where that came from, but
you clearly have some internal feelings that you need to work through.
Who are Wimby's comrades of this collective that they're sitting around talking
Wendy's,
about?
Not Wimby's.
I said Wendy. I said who? I'm sorry.
You said Wimby right now.
I'm sorry. Wendy. Who are Wendy's comrades in this collective that he's sitting around talking with?
Well, I mean, first of all,
name names.
Tim Bontemps and Jorge Sedano.
Really? He's in there with Jorge.
That's a recent episode.
I used to work with
Tim McMahon, Tim Bontemps. Again, there's a rotational cast of people. I mean, it's Wendy and a bunch of NBA types, so to speak.
So I guess the arching question I'm going to say, as of today, in my mind, the season is done. The rest of this is kind of like going to the NIT. We can treat it however we want. I put it to you, if we can get close and there's an opportunity, I want all of the Austin Spurs to spend a game. And, we're going to take their team for a day. And they can all come down here, and we'll put them on a riverboat. And we're going to have a party, and we're going to show those Austin Spurs how much we love them and sacrifice them to, say, the Detroit Pistons. Isn't that a good way to end the season? I mean, they took our guys for a couple games. We'll take theirs.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to wear their uniforms.
They have to bring their uniform. We'll put them in that SATX, that vaguely veiled with a giant A uniform.
Yeah, the S is like super small. You know what I mean? It's just like teeny tiny. It looks like an apostrophe almost.
Yeah, it's the ATEX Spurs is what it'll look like.
What do you think the point value is for Devin and Jeremy and Keldon? Keldon's out tonight.
Yeah,
his season isn't over. But what do you think the point value associated with them is?
You mean
how many points would you say that they're worth to the team? And on a line,
on a plus really minus, like the total. Are we netting this, or
like how much do you think?
I think net they're going to be down about 10 points.
Oh, dude, you are so
Even further
far
than
off.
that. Wow.
The Spurs
no
are
love.
the Spurs are the biggest underdog of the day as
But-
far as the slate of games. For context here, the Raptors, who we want to see win for obvious reasons,
They
are
ain't
12
winning
point.
anything.
They're 12-point dogs in Toronto, where there's nothing to feel good about from a sports perspective because your Blue Jays had a no-hitter thrown against them by the Astros last night. But the Raptors are 12-point dogs against the Lakers, who are obviously vying for a playoff spot. The Bucks are 13.5-point favorites, despite barely being 500 under Doc Rivers on the road against the Wizards. The Cavs are 11.5-point road favorites against the Jazz. These are still not the largest line of the day, as the Denver Nuggets at home are 16-point favorites against the San Antonio Spurs. Without Devin Vassell, without Jeremy Sohan, without Keldon Johnson, even with Victor Wembanyama seemingly available, it's representative of how tall of a task this is for the Spurs.
So first of all, I'm nothing if not vindictive.
I'm super petty. I'll hold a grudge.
I'm petty, and Cheesemay is all about me. But I just want to lead with this because I think it's very funny. And I'm glad I'm not the only one that was stuck with this. And even my son told me to get off my rocking chair and get off the porch on my take yesterday.
Was this Jack or Clay? Because
this was Clay. This was Clay. Told me to
Clay. You got a Starbucks gift card.
Sit down and shut up, old man. It was a celebration. That's basically what I got from him.
Okay.
The New York
story,
Knicks. Okay, so what happened? And we talked about it yesterday. As the game was over, Wemby did the Tim hug of the ball, and in celebration gave it the heave ho into the stands.
I'll take over the story from here.
All right.
So Rob,
I want to give some background.
Monday,
I want to give some background.
Okay.
I found out this morning, I didn't know this, that a Spurs ball boy realized. Oh, no, we're going to hear this. Okay, so I found out from this. So go ahead.
So on Monday, just to go chronologically here, we come in, we're all excited to talk about this. The Spurs won 3 games in a row. It's this like exclamation point, just cathartic, Andy Dufresne through the tunnel kind of moment for the Spurs.
I disagree wholeheartedly with this.
And Rob says,
memory of
I
yours.
can't believe the selfishness of Victor to throw the ball and in the moment, after an overtime win against one of the best teams in the East, best teams in the league for that matter, that he was not conscious of the fact that Jalen Brunson scored 61 points and that he did not personally hand deliver and gift wrap the ball so that Brunson could put it in his treasure chest of basketball accomplishments over the course of his career that is already highly decorated and likely carries a lot of memorabilia. So, Rob, you were the old man screaming to get off your lawn. How dare Victor? How dare he throw this ball into the stand?
Now, I do want to set the table a little bit deeper before we play this windy sound. And I'd forgotten about this yesterday, quite frankly, in my stupor from the eternity time. Remember the relationship between the Spurs and the Knicks? And it goes back all the way back to that big tall kid, not the one we got, the other one we wanted first. The what do they call him? The giraffe? No, he is the unicorn. I'm talking about. I'm joking. Porzingis. Remember, the Knicks were so sure that Pop or RC or somebody had flown to Serbia and had talked wherever he's from. I'm sorry, I it's probably not that, but had flown to his home country to talk to him. There was never any validation to Latvia that they'd flown to Latvia when he was still a Knick and had tried to illegally recruit him. And then there was one of the Morris brothers was nearly here, and then we got him on the trade deadline. We held on to him until nobody could get him, and then we cut him. So this might have been the final Michael Corleone, all the other families are going to pay kind of comeback. Like, okay, Nick guy, you think we did this? We still hold a grudge for the Morris backing out of his contract, though he was signed. We're going to throw the ball in the stands. Jalen, go find your own damn ball. No, that's not the case. I was mad at Wemby for the way he acted. He grabbed the ball and he threw a 61-point ball. That same ball was used by Dante Vincenzo to set a Knick record for a total 3 points. It was kind of going to be a significant item, a significant totem in the history of these ball players. And Wemby threw it in the air and it was to go away. Listen to Wendy, and this is what happened.
While the Knicks were very complimentary of Victor, they were pretty much demanding that he get fined, because at the end of the game, in celebration of that big win for the Spurs, he threw the ball into the stands, which was the Jalen Brunson 61-point ball, which I don't think he really wanted. I think he'll want it later because it was, Melo.
Jalen's a wins and losses guy. He is
Right.
not happy about that.
I mean, if it was Giannis, we know that he would have wanted the ball.
But that's right. But also, Dante DiVincenzo set the Knicks record for threes in a season with it. Not that that's going into the Springfield, but the ball had some real value. And, and there's a ball boy working the Knicks bench. He's a Spurs ball boy working the Knicks bench. He sprinted up into the stands and somehow got the ball back. I have no idea
That's awesome.
how he did, but he got it back. And the Knicks
better got taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks were very pleased about that and were in possession of the ball. But they were like, look, you're getting $25K, buddy. And Victor did not like that, as George mentioned. He was like, no, I've seen people throw the ball into the stands in anger many times, but I was throwing it out of happiness. I was trying to make a guy's day. She would have made the guy's pocketbook. He's like, I shouldn't have gotten, 25 grand for that. So welcome to the NBA, Victor.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That was just part of the collective that includes the Windy.
Do you know how big of a beta loser you have to be to whine and cry that Victor should be, fined for this? I can understand being miffed, right? I can.
You can't hit me. I'm trying to take a shot.
I can totally understand the Knicks being mad, but to demand what do the Knicks benefit from Victor losing 25 grand?
Man, they don't like the Spurs. That's why I wanted to kind of paint the picture. That's just petty, man. That is Brolin.
I am so mad at this myself because I wanted to root for the Knicks in the playoffs this year. I like Jalen Brunson. Dante is great. And again, there's something cool to the fact that they're, the peak of their collegiate career happened in San Antonio, right?
Yep.
That we have a somewhat of a bit of a kinship with there. And so I wanted to root for them there. And it's cool to see the Knicks involved so heavily. Nah, I'm out. This is some big loser energy from the Knicks. Y'all can step, y'all can pass, you can pop all the rocks, you can do whatever. Whining and crying because you didn't get the game ball after you lost is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
It's the Knicks and it'll
and
continue.
they got the ball back.
I know, and they got it back. I didn't realize they'd gotten the ball back. So pretty typical. But they did take a beating. With that in mind, as the guys are gone, Wemby's going to try to close out what has been a stellar season. On the top of your head, when you meet folks, when we're traveling around, you got your Spurs cap on, they go, oh, San Antonio. Next year, what do you think next year is going to be on the top of your head? Is your expectation playoff basketball for the Spurs next year?
Easily. And avoid the play-in. Easy playoff spot you're in. By the way, on the subject of talking to people, our buddy Andrew Perloff's going to have to make a drive down.
Yes, he is. He's going to have to come south and broadcast in the studio across the street or across the hall from us, maybe. I want you to listen to Tim Bontemps because I think that you and I and many are going to fall into a trap that might not necessarily be true. This is Tim Bontemps.
There's going to be an expectation from the average person that the Spurs are in the top 6 next year because of the way this season has ended, because of how great Victor has been. There's just going to be a general assumption that they're going to be awesome next year. And it's going to be very difficult to.
They're not.
I agree with you. I'm saying the general perception is going to be the Spurs should be in the playoffs. And there's going to be a pressure to speed this up because of that. And what the Spurs have to be careful about is not costing themselves the opportunity to get the kind of player that wants to come there later.
That's Tim Bontemps amongst the other socialists on the Hoop Collective there with Wendy. Is he too pessimistic?
Well, that to me sounds a little bit, I wouldn't accuse the Spurs of negotiating with their fans through the media, but that sounds a little bit of whoa,
slow the roll.
Yeah, don't expect too much from us. This is a little bit like, I've only hit it out of the park once, so if I don't do it right now, guys, when I was in middle school and I first joined the band and I was on, as a drummer, and I remember we're learning how to play the instruments, and all of my friends were like, "Oh, show us what you've learned." And
right.
It was this really high pressure moment, and it was 3 taps, and everybody was like, "Cool," And so this is that, but I think that's really, why wouldn't you have high expectations?
Well, okay,
should have high expectations.
We should, and I do think that there's a lot there, but we have to be realistic of where the Spurs sit, because as much as we like our young dudes, it's going to take so much more than what our young dudes have to offer. I mean, we need to get something else to go where the Spurs are going to want to go. And it might cost a couple of these young dudes that we are growing to love and have the expectations to go there. But to get good where we want to be, top 6 or better, it's going to take another star. We know that. But how are the Spurs going to get a star? If we're going to take inventory and move stock, we're going to have to move some players, or they're going to have to convince a player to come here as a free agent. And that probably is going to be, and the Spurs method is probably going to have to include both. Wendy talked about who is going to come and how are they going to get there. It's going to take a certain kind of a player to decide to come to the Spurs in Wendy's eyes.
I think it's got to be a player who's like, I hate saying this word because I lived this for years in Cleveland. It's got to be a guy saying, I'm okay being Scottie Pippen, which Scottie Pippen wasn't necessarily okay with being Scottie Pippen, but like, and that makes a Jordan comparison, but like, they got to be a guy who says, I'm okay with that. Is at a point in his career where he wants that. That's what I think they need.
Brian Windhorst on his Hoop Collective podcast. Thoughts?
I think that's fair. I mean,
well, that doesn't fit the narrative that it's Trey Jones. That he doesn't want to be no Robin. He ain't no
Trey Young.
Trey Young. I'm sorry. Trey
Jones is.
Yes, we already got that guy, and he's
so
really good. But I'm just saying that doesn't really fit the narrative of what we're looking at, because my mind is I don't want an old dude on his way out. I want a young stud who said, let's do this together.
Well, I think the modern NBA isn't as rigid with that, right? I mean, I think a good example, and I know this is frustrating to admit, but like look at Luka and Kyrie.
Exactly.
I mean, would you say that Kyrie's not Scottie Pippen? You know, there are plenty of games
where Giannis and Dame.
If you're living in the analogy, that's another great example. There are plenty of nights and plenty of moments where it is the case, but where it's required to be the case, where the wingman or the Pippen, I think we would agree, are Kyrie and Dame on those respective teams. And so where they have to be the guy, it's still Dame time many a time for the Bucks. You know what I mean? There's still magic Kyrie moments for the Mavs. And I think it takes, Giannis obviously already has a title, but I think it takes a lot of losses for the Giannis's and the Lukas. And this never happened to Jordan, obviously, but to realize, you know what, like, I can't do it alone. I think the problem with the Cavs that Wendy's talking about is they always tried to, keep not that LeBron, I know a lot of people say a lot of things about LeBron. Not that he had an inferiority complex, but that was your problem. I mean, it took LeBron finding another Jordan, I guess, to live, analogous here in Wade and Bosh for things to finally happen. Like if you just have a Pippen, then you're putting a ceiling on that player. And that's a kind of a stupid way to go about it. So yeah, Trey Young's still totally possible in my mind.
Jason Maya on our brigade bar says Spurs won't get a free agent anytime soon. It'll have to come through the draft. Well, they talked about that. The Spurs have traditionally been flyover country. We've never been a destination of sort. But Wendy really would kind of beg to differ. This is not, listen to Wendy. I don't know how to take this, but I'll take it in the best possible light.
Make fun of me all you want. I've lived in Miami. I've lived in New York City. I spend 50 days a year in Los Angeles. You can say whatever you want about what I'm about to say, okay? San Antonio is a growing city. Lots and lots of people have moved to San Antonio in the last 4 or 5 years. I drove from Austin to San Antonio the other day. There is no difference between the cities now are grown together. I-35, it is one giant megalopolis from Austin to San Antonio. They're playing games in Austin now. Yeah. They have the #1 practice facility in the NBA. If you want to think of it as a cow town, like it was the turn of the century, fine. And is it New York or LA? Of course not. But there's a whole bunch of people moving to Texas, and they're moving to Texas for a lot of reasons. And there's a lot of people moving to San Antonio. So it ain't Cleveland. And I say that as somebody from Cleveland. Okay. So say whatever you want about nobody ever wanting to be in San Antonio. Go ahead and say it. I'm telling you, that's not necessarily true. It may be true for a lot of guys. Somebody's going to be like, you know what? That's not a bad place. They have a great practice facility. There's no state income tax, and I can play with Victor Wembanyama for the rest of my career and make a ton of money.
Good organization, right? Good organization.
Of course, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm walking away. I'm leaving San Antonio now, but that's what I'm walking away saying.
Thank you, Wendy. Put that on a loop and broadcast it into space. I don't
Holy
think we're
crap.
quite there yet, but wow.
So, I mean, this is a general question, and some of this is person and family specific. But just quickly, Rob, kind of, I want to blitz these things. No pun intended.
I'm going.
You've lived in a lot of places in life. Would you rather live in the cities I'm going to rip off or San Antonio? Milwaukee.
No.
Right. Boston.
No.
Let's call it Miami.
A millionaire in Miami.
Yeah, if you're an NBA player, maybe Miami. Okay. Brooklyn.
Yes.
Charlotte.
No. This is San Antonio better.
DC.
No.
Denver. Denver might win out.
No, Denver is not what you think it is once you get there. No.
Oklahoma City. I mean, right? Okay. Minneapolis, Los Angeles.
You know what? Minneapolis don't sell them short, but no.
I would Phoenix. I mean, that's a great way to live.
We're
too.
headed that way. For the longest time, San Antonio and Phoenix were always considered about the same kind of cities. The population, there was a military base, there was the border, the mixture and all that. But Phoenix lapped us about 20 years ago. They left us. And we're gaining now.
My point is, I mean, good for Wendy for being, not a trope and not the hot take artist and saying something stupid just, for attention or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it makes I don't know who looks at things that way, right? Like who actually, and again, the idea that there is an uncomfortable NBA or NFL or MLB city to live in there's a Target everywhere, guys. There's a Chipotle everywhere. Like you will be fine. You know what I'm saying? And here, I mean, think about, we mentioned Miami. Think about like players like Ray Allen, right? Because that's kind of what we're close to needing as ancillary parts.
Yeah.
What was one of the biggest reasons Ray Allen wanted to go to Miami and leave Boston? It was to golf, right? Like he was like, I'm sick of this cold. I'm sick of this life.
True.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a warm climate. Then some people like the cold. Like some people, and I don't mean to make this so black and white with that, but I mean, the idea that this is not an appealing place for anyone to live and play and raise a family is so stupid.
Right.
It never applied in a real sense.
Well, for a 22-year-old multimillionaire, I get why San Antonio probably wasn't the place I wanted to be. I get it. I always got it.
But the only part of what Wendy said that I disagree with or have a point about is he said, is it New York or LA? No. What is? Like right. Of all the NBA possible cities we can discuss and debate, like Boston is very cool and very interesting. Miami, very cool and interesting. But even Boston and Miami, which are massive, massive, massive places, are not LA or New York. And even then, I mean, I've never been to New York, but you have. We've been to LA, Super Bowls or whatever, training camps, things like that. Those are nightmare places to live and operate, even if you have all the money in the world. Unless you actually are LeBron James, it's impossible ergonomically to live and thrive there. And so when we go to training camp every year, it's a matter of like, God, I can't wait to get home. This sucks. I mean, and who wants to be on West Coast time all the time? No, miss me with that.
I disagree with the guy that will agree to be the Robin. Like, I'll be the second. I don't want any guy on my team that will agree to that. I want everybody aspiring to be A, but I also want everybody to understand their role. Everybody can't be first year drummer, but you can play the cymbals pretty damn well. But the type of guy that you want to play with, Wemby, is going to matter. I give you this. I don't know about old grizzled veteran. Maybe not. But whoever they do bring in as a free agent, whether it be this year, next year, or the following, to be the piece, the guy needs to have at least been in the playoffs chasing something. Needs to have come from an organization and bring a mentality of success to Wemby. And that's why Trae Young to me he has enough of it from a couple of years ago. He carried a team on his back in a playoff run. But I don't want a dude that's running through 3 years. And I'll say, like, I don't want a guy. Now, Zion if he was available, that kind of thing. But I want a guy who has played in situations that mattered. That's all that matters to me.
You either need, that's the perfect type, like the Ray Allen guy, right? Like what you just talked about. I think there's also big brothers, so to speak, like Andre Iguodala at the beginning of the Golden State run. Like he didn't have the playoff, total experience that say like Ray Allen did. But he was a proper big brother and kind of person who could shoulder certain loads and understand certain things and had been around the NBA for a long time. So that's fair. And
the
I think
Spurs
Trae
have
Young,
a history of that too. RJ.
Trae Young
they
is
do.
somewhere in between there. Like he's a much more individually accomplished player
Mhm.
right now than Iggy was at the time. But he's obviously not Ray Allen. And so, but to that point, that's why this is going to take more than one. Even if you go get Trae Young, like you can't stop. You can't be like, oh, we got Trae Young and Zach Collins. Let's ride. You know what I mean? Like you need a lot of help. That's why you have to be inordinately busy this offseason.
And I saw coming through the brigade bar, I want to give credit to whoever it was, but they listed a variety of names that Pop had brought in through the years, all the way back to like Caldwell Jones. And I remember Kevin Willis running around, dudes that showed up that had all played in games that mattered. It wasn't just, run-of-the-mill rookie or second, third-year contract guy that was a valuable glue guy, but, went to the playoffs one time, came to work, job, but, the separator, that's my only prereq. After that, man, old, young, just come to it with something to bring and come to it with the Pop attitude is just get over yourself. And I think first and foremost, if you can do that, you can be Batman or Robin. It doesn't really even matter, but it does going to take a certain kind of a guy to come in and play.
We have talked about how the Spurs are going to have the big challenge of building this team around him. I really honestly only see one or two of these guys lasting for more than two seasons really around him. But having been in the Knicks locker room Friday night and been in the Warriors locker room tonight, the way these players are talking about Victor playing against him, Draymond tonight was like, Draymond used 4 veries. Very, 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 very good. These teams, not only are they blown away by what they're watching from Victor when they're playing against him, but where they saw him early in the season. And so all I'm going to say is this. Yes, the Spurs have a responsibility and a challenge to build this roster around him. But having spent this weekend here, I am going to say that there is going to be a player or two who is going to be forward thinking and want to get himself to San Antonio. Somebody is going to see this opportunity. This is my prediction. I am making a prediction. Somebody is going to see this opportunity and say, I can get myself to San Antonio. I can be this guy's running mate. I got to do it. And there's wide open space to do it.
That is Wendy on the Hoop Collective. Put that on another loop. Wendy promoting the Spurs and all that is. We talk silver and black every day. And remember, we're just the beginning of the sporting spear. We're going off, but here comes Greeny, then Romy on a vine, and the blitz gets busy again. For RJ Ochoa, I'm Rob Thompson. This is the Morning Huddle here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
This is 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, KTFM Floresville.